Hello, it's July 7th, 2022. Another hot day here in Green Valley, Arizona, but beautiful. Nancy and I were out in the desert this morning, feeling the heat and enjoying it immensely. The life and beauty of the desert is not diminished by the summer. In fact, it's enhanced in many ways. I'm very grateful for the beauty that surrounds us. Today, I decided to look at chapter 56 of the Tao Te Ching because I was doing a lot of arguing inside of my head. And chapter 56 is a good one to turn to when that happens. In one of my translations in A Path and a Practice, it says, the more we understand this path, the less we need to convince others. The more we need to convince others, the less we really understand. So we become silent. We stop looking about for approval. We cease taking offense at the opinions of others. We no longer complicate our thinking or our lives. We do not seek the spotlight, but instead become a simple part of all that is. We can be loved or shunned, make a profit or suffer a loss, be honored or disgraced, and never lose the treasure of our being. Argument is a waste of energy, a crashing waste of energy. The need to convince other people really just illustrates the fragility of our own beliefs and positions. Yet we live in an ultra argumentative culture. All of this ranting and raving and arguing and shouting changes nothing. No one is ever convinced, and we just shout all the louder, blame all the more, and widen the gulf into which humanity is very likely to plummet. Now, this same process goes on inside my head. In the past few years, I've withdrawn very much from the external haranguing and arguing of social media and other media. But the process of argument and justification and ranting has already been conditioned inside of my brain by decades of cultural exposure. And it continues to diminish my contentment and my clarity on occasion. It's as if I must always be prepared to defend what's going on, defend my experience of the divinity of the Tao, defend my beliefs in a convincing manner so that nobody can say, well, what about this and what about that? But that process goes on inside of my head. What about this? What about that? Have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? Well, I just, I'm not sure that's a very, what about this? Some would say that this process is a natural way of refining your opinions and beliefs and ideas. But I'm not so sure. Refining my position is not a priority for me. It really isn't. Becoming clear, quiet, centered in my experience, that's my priority. From that clarity and that quiet and that direct experience of the divinity of the Tao, my words and actions emerge in natural ways with a natural quality about them, but not to convince, but merely to express and be as clear as possible. I've often mentioned the advice that an early Zen teacher gave me decades ago. Bill, from your center, do and say and act in whatever way seems natural and appropriate for you, whatever seems true and compassionate, but always refrain from blaming anyone, from recruiting anyone, or arguing with anyone. Simply do. Those who are ready to connect will see and hear. So I work from my own center, from my soul. My life becomes an expression of my connection, rather than some sort of a way of arguing myself into that connection. Well, people ask, well, how do I get connected? You are connected. There's profound evidence for the existence of a universal energy. Any physicist will understand that. And it permeates all of life. Why not assume that this is a divine energy, is a purposeful energy? Why would divine not be an appropriate adjective for this grand mystery? Perhaps the most appropriate adjective. Assume that divinity flows in every atom of your being. Assume you are connected. Assume you are part of God, the Tao, the divine source. Then let your spiritual and religious practices emerge from that, be an expression of that connection, rather than a means to achieve that connection. So, for instance, my Qigong is not primarily a way to get connected, to experience my connection and unity with the divine Tao, as much as it is a way of expressing that connection. It's a circular sort of a thing, but I practice this because I am mystically and energetically connected to all that is, not so that I can connect to all that is. Do you kind of sense the difference between those things? Cause and effect get mixed up. They must be in their proper alignment. The assumption is that I am connected. I may not feel it all the time, but when I operate from that assumption and then let my practices, whether it's Qigong or meditation or prayer or service, or simply being and talking with people, emerge from the understanding that I am connected rather than trying to connect, everything flows the way it's supposed to. Argument never, ever enters into the question. I'm talking to you, but I have no need to convince you of anything. I'm honestly trying from my basic understandings of my connection to the divine Tao and being an expression of that divine Tao, as are we all, to speak, to communicate. And when I do that, I notice that the arguments inside of my head settle down. When I finish this video, my head will take over again and it will say, you should have said this. That wasn't clear enough. Well, you really didn't mean that. And what about this? Forget it. Just speak, do, act, make mistakes, correct them, go on. You are connected. We are connected. That's the fundamental nature of our being. Let our practices, let our life emerge from that connection. You certainly don't have to find the Tao. You don't have to find God. It's there. He's there. She's there. You are that. Nice to talk with you.